on the other way.
Yes.
And that's inflammation.
Something is suppressing people's immune systems, including the poor 13-year-old boy who died of pancreatic cancer. And the question is, what is that? And maybe there are a lot of causes, but it is, we're not the first people to notice there's been an increase in scary cancers in populations that didn't used to get them. It's very obvious just from living here. And a lot of people have pointed to both COVID, the virus, and to the mRNA COVID vaccines as potential causes. Do you think that they're related?
The best way for me to answer that is to look at history. What we know about virally induced cancers is well established. We know that if you get hepatitis, you get liver cancer. Hepatitis is a virus infection. We know if you get human papillomavirus, HPV, you get cervical cancer.
Yes.
So,
certain kinds of throat cancer are caused by viruses as well,
correct.
Right?
If you get HIV, you get Kaposi sarcoma.
Yes.
So we call that oncogenic viruses in medical terms, meaning viruses that are induced carcinogenic. And the fundamental basis for that are threefold. The hallmarks of an oncogenic virus is one, it must persist. And why? Because it continues to create inflammation. And why? With inflammation, you get suppression because your body's trying to suppress it. It must inhibit the thing called P53 that's in your body to try and protect your body from not having cancer. And if it persists and causes inflammation and inhibits P53, it begins to have the hallmarks of an oncogenic virus. So then the question is, does COVID, whether it come from the vaccine, which is the spike protein vaccine, or from the infection, which is spike-driven, that gets into every cell of our body because it goes through the
cell of the body?
It goes wherever you have this thing called the ACE2 receptor, which is in the blood vessels. So wherever you have a blood vessel in your body, it's where it's going to go. And if it has an ACE2 receptor on that blood vessel, that's where it can go because that's the purpose of the spike protein, to penetrate, to hijack that ACE2 receptor and get into their cells. So that's why it gets in the pancreas. That's why you have brain fog, because it disrupts the blood vessels of the brain and causes mitochondrial dysfunction. That's why in the colon, which is a high, and the GI tract is a high ACE2 receptor. That's why pancreas is a high ACE2 receptor, where that's why you people have in the heart, you have dysfunction. You've seen young people who have sudden heart attacks all of a sudden. You see young people with pancreatic cancer all of a sudden. You see young people with colon cancer all of a sudden. So is it by coincidence that post-COVID infection, post-COVID vaccine, we're seeing all these events where we know the spike protein goes there? I don't think so. I think it's not a coincidence. So the question is, can we prove, is this what I call long COVID virus persisting? And the group at University of California, San Francisco, has now definitively proven that and published that in papers like Nature. Can we also prove that once you have that persistence of that virus, does that COVID virus suppress the natural killer cell? Does the natural killer cell actually not only go to sleep, becomes what we call anergic? That's now been published. The natural killer cell has gone to sleep. So,
so by your definition, we just solved the mystery right there.
I think so. I think this is the conversation I had with the...
Well, but wait, I mean, billions of people, literally billions of people had the COVID virus. Over 1 billion got the spike protein vaccine. So that's like, we're talking like a huge percentage of the Earth's population, unless I'm missing something.
Now you understand what keeps me awake at night. And it's kept me awake at night for 2 years, 2.5 years. And that's why I sort of abandoned everything just to focus on how do we clear the virus? Because the answer is to clear the virus.
From the body.
From the body. The answer is to stop the inflammation because it's chronic inflammation.
So can I ask a dumb question? How long does the virus remain in the human body? If not,
so far we found 3 years, 4 years.
Is there any reason to believe it'll naturally go away?
Not if your body's immunosuppressed. So it's a circle. You ask what causes cancer? Because your body's immunosuppressed. You have in your body nature's compound. And if the tumor or the infection or the inflammation suppresses it, you have to find a way to reactivate it and clear the virus. It's literally as simple as that. And that's the missing link that I think.
So it sounds like you're describing what could be like the worst human health crisis in history.
I don't know how to say that without saying it. It scares the pants off me, because I think what we may be, I don't think it's virus versus man now, right? This is existential. I think when I talk about the largest non-infectious pandemic that we're afraid of, this is it. Because while there was an increased rise in cancer in our country because of the idea of the toxins and everything else, this immunosuppression that has occurred now globally, and more importantly, the immunosuppression tied to inflammation, chronic inflammation, which is asymptomatic and sometimes it's not. There's 15 million Americans with long COVID. And they're not psychiatric when they have memory loss. They're not psychiatric when they have instantaneous heart attacks. It's not psychiatric when you have an 8-year-old, 10-year-old colon cancer, a 13-year-old pancreatic cancer. So the idea was, is there a solution? And this is what, thank God.
Well, I certainly hope so. Because you've spent your life around scary diseases. Like, that's been your life. Yep. And if you're scared, then that's not a good sign.
I'm scared but hopeful. I think it's important for me to have this conversation with you, not just, that's why, okay, I'll share with you a conversation I had. I got invited by the CEO of the Henry Jackson Foundation to come to DC, I think October, November last year, during the election phase, and just to have a conversation about what I'm doing. And there he brought the leader from Walter Reed, the BARDA, the DOD, the NIH, the NIAID, all into that room. And it was just me. And I said, it is time. It is time for me to reveal to this learned group of leaders about what I'm scared about. And I spent, I think it was 3 hours, no slides, just me speaking alone on the stage and all of them in the audience. When I first started the conversation, the first sentence was, I think COVID is oncogenic. One of the members of the audience said, that's nonsense. I said, okay, let me explain to you what we've been doing in our research. At the end of 3 hours, 4 hours, he said, you've got to publish this. This is so important. And I said, yes, we are processing the publication. And what came out was this paper that they biopsied the colon of young people temporarily when no COVID to COVID and showed the persistence of replicating viruses in the colon tissue 2 years out.
Replicating COVID viruses?
Replicating COVID viruses. Replicating. Asymptomatic replicating in the tissue, meaning there's inflammation. And when you have this inflammation, these neutrophils, now getting geeky again, plasticize, flip from a protective neutrophil to a suppressive neutrophil. It's called an N2. It's called a myeloid-derived suppressor cell. That's the official name. So now you have suppression in your body. And it's no wonder that then converts into colon cancer.